Hey, what's up, permaculture people? I'm just showing you the property across the street, my wife's parents' house. It's a, I think, 6-year-old food forest front yard right now. And here's this compost here that I've been applying to some of the beds before winter came. I took out all the weeds and unwanted plants and grass that had grown into these now shrunken micro hugel mounds, and put some of this compost on and some wood chips from trees down there that have been coming down for another house to be built. And so I plan to do that to all these trees, all these plants. There's more hugels on the other side of the house. I think I'll still have some left over, hopefully, to use back at our place. But what I was doing today, I was on my way back from a long run in which I was scouting around for more permaculture opportunities and discovered the Public Works facility, which I didn't know where it was, and there was big piles of leaves and wood chips, so I'm gonna ask if I can use those for projects to reintegrate the accumulated biomass of the community back into permaculture landscapes to help feed it. But on the way back from that run, I was running through the yard here just to kind of look at what was going on, and I thought about tracing out with my footsteps, with my trail, possible lines to represent paths and beds in a swale type digging, technique to passively irrigate the water coming through here to help keep these trees watered, because they're planted in hugel cultures for a couple of reasons. Because a lot of trees came down in the woods behind our house now in a big storm, and I wanted to, they asked me to clean them up, and I brought them over here to be the material for hugel culture beds for all these trees, because the soil here is super dense clay that is either really dry or really inundated. So I was trying to use those two issues to try to form a solution. And I think it's kept the trees alive, but they're not exactly thriving. They're not, some are doing better than others. But just in general, it's been dry in the summers here lately, so I think putting swales weaving through this dotted microhugel landscape design will help passively irrigate everything. So starting at the top of the watershed where my truck and the compost is, if we were to come parallel with this road salt and pollution absorbing buffer of roses, if we come parallel to that, we're definitely going downhill, but it's not that steeply downhill. And then we can curve back this way and then find this approximate contour line that my footsteps are going on now. So I'll actually come out here with an A-frame and find real contour lines, but this it's starting to go uphill now, but it'll probably actually turn this way. But these pathways that I'm walking that are all weaving through each other are all possible places to put paths and beds close to contour, like swales, and trying to just find ways to wrap them around through here that still seems like a nice way to walk and a nice way to get around everything. And by making these paths and swales or beds on either side of them, uphill or downhill, we're just creating more space to grow complementary plants to the trees, because right now it's all a mown grass lawn, which is fine. It just requires that maintenance. And if we were to continue to develop this food forest into a more forest-like system, having these trails close to contour where you walk so you can get to everything on nearly level ground, you're not walking up or downhill very hard. And it also keeps the water in the soil moving across the slope as more than down it. And then in making these twisting, serpentining kind of paths, you're getting everywhere, and you're walking between everything, and you're keeping the water moving slowly around and just generating a nice pathwork, and creating more space to grow other things, infiltrate the water. So that's what I've done here. I've walked most of them now down at the bottom of the watershed of this particular chunky yard, and then back this way towards the driveway would kind of be where it ends and then empties into the ditch and the culvert here. And by these paths intersecting, see, you can see this little spot right here is making this triangle. It looks like the Star Trek emblem, sort of, kind of this pointy, curved triangle. Like that's a spot for a bed now that I've made paths all around it. All the sod and the soil goes in and builds up soil here and makes these little channels where water one helps it drain, but it makes it infiltrate first, and it makes it spread around and just keep the water evenly distributed all across the slope, as opposed to at the top and at the bottom and where there's holes. Like you can see this, that's a hole. You know, we can accentuate these low spots too to make, you know, little micro ponds, or use the soil generated by digging paths to fill them in and level them out and make them drain more intentionally back into our paths, or where our paths are eventually going. So that's just some ideas of something you can do this time of year in this kind of place, is walk around spots that are in development or that you plan on developing soon, and just make little paths in the snow where you think things can happen, and sketch out your designs on the ground without needing stakes or spray paint or strings or I mean, you can, but this is just a cool way to sketch it out. Like that's going off contour now, but that's okay. It can also go this way and keep it more on contour, and the water will, you know, take one or the other path, or take both paths in different amounts of intensity, I suppose. So here's another little loop that this path can take and reintegrate into this path. You know, send it back on more level ground, and also down here, like it can build up here and want to go there first, but if it overflows, it can go here and catch into this. And likewise, attach all these little spots that do go down the slope as like a last minute drainage thing, but shape the land so that it's encouraged more to go horizontally than vertically as much. But having a border trench like this is not a bad idea either, because then it's, again, just a path that gives you access to all these plants and the edge, the perimeter of the spot. So yeah, there's lots of cool opportunities. You can start to see shapes, mostly triangles, ovals. Yeah, primarily triangles and ovals are made in this sort of weaving, crisscrossing, serpentining, circumnavigating kind of thing to do. And as you walk in different spots, you see other points from which to find contours. Like right here, if I was to start a path, bed, swale thing right here, there's an opportunity to just fill in some space close to contour and create another opportunity. Like this links up with this path right here really nicely. See? So just finding all the ways to connect dots, make shapes, keep paths open, have options, and working with what's going on as much as you can. Trying not to, get too crazy with this, but just having options and doing what makes the most sense at first, and then seeing what can be added to after you see what happens with initial efforts. I guess you could color code your stakes if you want to do this with stakes too, and have like primary options or primary installation, and then possible future additions to make. So this lines right back up to this path pretty good. Back to something approximating contour. Now, obviously these are not contour, but it's okay for the water to move some, as long as its tendency is across more than down. Like it's already doing something more like erosion by going down to the lowest place somewhere. And most times people accentuate that downward movement just to move water quicker. But if you do certain things like this to just tease it out horizontally, going, if you're going to go downhill, go intentionally enough downhill so that it does move, but it doesn't go downhill unexpectedly. Like this spot right here, it looks like it's coming, just by eye, it looks like it's coming downhill towards me here, and downhill towards me here. So this is like a weird low spot where you could accentuate where the water comes together and purposefully dig out a little bit here and make like a little pond, little water feature, a little rain garden, a little pocket of moisture that's just bound to happen. So you plan for it, and so you put an overflow, intentionally, just a little bit right here, so it overflows, comes into this path, which, will go, it's pretty close to contour, it'll go whichever way is actually downhill. But if it goes hard, it might go both ways, so it has more options to keep going horizontally, which is what we want. So this is kind of intuitive wander contouring, visually based. So you see this big diamond we created around these couple of plums. It's just like a natural consequence of desire line walking with contour in mind. This is probably getting too close. To put a swale between all this stuff would be probably too crowded, unless I put the soil both directions. So this would be a not primary option. This would be like third layer of this kind of process, third stage, third edition. So, but it's a possibility, and it's just fun to envision in motion. Is what I'm doing here. It's another good way to be in contact with your space and observe and interact and just look and feel and do and see, what possibilities exist by paying attention and trying stuff out. This is definitely a later stage one too, if it made any sense. Just another horizontal line in which to cultivate if the need or desire ever arises. So that's about it. I think I covered all the possible ground. So there's this nice webby network of contour, close to contour, approximation, desire line, web weaving, pathway building, passive water infiltration, irrigating, kind of design in motion. All right, I hope that was fun. It was fun for me. Go try it out on your snowy place where you want to do some permaculture stuff. All right, see you next time.